Hey everybody, welcome to my shop. My name's Hunter. Let's do this thing. All right, and welcome to the shop. Again, my name is Hunter, and yeah, this is where I build my furniture. This is a 24 by 24 foot workspace, give or take. I've had this building for about a year, and pretty decently set up now. So I have a lot of big machinery in here, and I've seen some people on YouTube do this as well, but I think I'm gonna share the price that I paid for each machine and kind of my journey to get up to some of these bigger machines I have. You know, everything that I have here I've paid for in the past, and you know, this is my business, so it's kind of an exciting journey. Some pretty good deals and steals in there, so you guys might find it enjoyable. But yeah, let's get into it, and I think we're gonna swing over to the miter station to start. So let's go. Yeah, so here we are at the miter station. This is usually the first place I come when I bring rough lumber in the front door here. 80% of the time I have my cut list all worked up already, and I can come rough cut my pieces down on the miter station. This is your standard Bosch slider saw here. I don't use this thing for precision other than bucking down rough lumber. My whole miter station setup I've built out to look pretty. You know, I have clients that come into this space. I like a beautiful space, hence my blue walls and blue paint everywhere. Everything gets thrown on this miter station. I have storage below for extra products and things of that nature. I have laminate countertops that I've done myself, as well as an inlaid T-track here that doesn't get used that often, but if I have a lot of pieces to cut repetitively, it's nice to be able to throw a stop block in there for sure. Yeah, there's the miter station. I do have an air compressor living under this cabinet here, and my reel and stuff pops out over here. Yeah, that's the miter station. And then from there, I usually roll right on over to my jointer. So let's do that. All right, this is my Grizzly 12-inch helical head jointer. And this thing is an absolute beast. I really enjoy this machine. I do a lot of tables, and so the long beds make things a lot easier when I'm jointing long boards. And I believe this is my third iteration on my jointer. I started with a 6-inch Delta jointer, pretty standard find on Marketplace, and then found a 8-inch straight knife Grizzly on Marketplace for $200 actually. It had never been used, was disassembled. Somebody had bought a home with it in the garage and just was looking to unload it. So I used that for several years, and about a year ago is when I purchased this jointer from a local cabinet shop that was upgrading to an Italian jointer. I purchased this machine for $3,000. Kind of a steep price, but well worth the investment for my business. After upgrading from my 8-inch straight knife, this thing is a beast. It's extremely heavy. The tables are super solid, and can't complain with that. So the next step in my process usually is going over to my planer. So let's get into that. From the jointer, we come right to my planer. This is my Laguna PX16 Shear Tech cutter head planer, and this thing is a phenomenal machine. I've gone through several iterations of planers as well. You know, I started with a 12-inch DeWalt, moved up to the 13-inch DeWalt planer, then went into a Jet 15-inch straight knife planer, and eventually moved into this machine here. And this thing by far has been the best planer I've ever used. It is super easy to adjust all of your settings, has a digital readout as well, which is very accurate in my opinion. It's a great machine, has a lot of power, and you can take out some pretty hefty cuts if you need to. But the helical cutter heads are phenomenal and leave an amazing finish. They're easy to rotate if they're dull, and I've had this thing for about 2 years now, and I haven't had to rotate the blades once, and they get 4 uses each. So I think this thing will last me quite a long time before I have to buy new blades for it. It's a beautiful planer. I love the black. I'd love to outfit my entire shop with Laguna if I could, but for now, this is the only one I got. I'm very happy with it. Moving on to that, let's go to the table saw. All right, and here's my table saw. This is a 3 horsepower Sawstop table saw with a 36-inch fence. And again, this is my 3rd table saw. I initially started my journey by purchasing a Jet contractor style saw on Craigslist, and then actually moved into a Delta Unisaw with a 52-inch fence that I bought on Craigslist for $200. And used that for a couple years until I realized that this was something I wanted to do for a long time, and figured I'd invest in the Sawstop early on. So here we are with my Sawstop. Overall, the saw is an amazing tool. It's really well built, and I usually say, regardless of the safety feature, I highly recommend a Sawstop table saw. They're just very well built. The cast iron is super strong and durable. The motors are strong and everything. The fence and everything else is just really impressive build quality. So regardless of that safety feature the Sawstop has, I think it's a highly valuable saw. In addition to the standard Sawstop, I've added the Harvey Compass ST1500 sliding table saw attachment. The way I have this mounted, I can get a 50-inch capacity here, so I could rip a 4-foot section of plywood without any problem. I don't use plywood a lot, but it is nice to have that ability. The fence here is pretty robust and it tightens down well. I don't often change it from 0 degrees, so that helps just have a consistent cut. This fence rolls out, I believe, to 60 inches, and I don't use it that much, to be honest, but it's nice to have that capacity. If you're doing a lot of plywood cutting, I'd suggest looking at the Sawstop's bigger version of an outfeed slider. It just gives a lot more support for a whole sheet of plywood, but this thing I use mostly for cross cutting and just having repeatable cross cuts, and I think it's fantastic. So really is a good addition to the Sawstop, and this whole unit just works flawlessly for me. Yeah, there's my Sawstop. Let's move into this corner and talk about my dust collector. So this corner is kind of a bundle of a few tools. My drill press and edge sander don't get used that much, so they kind of live tucked away. And then this is a recent addition to the shop, my Oneida. It's an older Oneida dust collector unit. Let's talk about these two tools first. I bought both of these tools together on Marketplace for $1,100. This is my Nova Voyager DVR drill press. And I am a huge fan of this drill press. Even though it doesn't get used all that much in my shop, this is a direct drive drill press. So there aren't any belts in the top here for speed adjustment. Everything comes direct out of a motor. So there's a lot of fine adjustments to the speed you can use. It has a great user interface where it gives you recommended speed settings. You can have the spindle reverse. You can drill metal on this, no problem. I still need to build a better table system for it for sure, but overall I'm really happy with this drill press. This is your standard jet edge sander. This thing's good when I need it. Runs well, does the job, kicks up a lot of dust, but that's what I have my new dust collector for. For 5 years, I ran a Harbor Freight dust collector unit, and it sucked, and not in a good way. So this year, I was able to find a really good deal on Marketplace. This whole unit was $400. So this is an older Oneida unit. I believe it's only 2 horsepower, but the CFMs it pull are significantly better than the Harbor Freight, of course, but I have ducting wired to each of my main tools right now, and there's some flex hose that spans to a couple tools. Eventually, I will expand the system throughout the entire shop, but 55-gallon drum, filter's amazing. It's just such an upgrade for the shop. If you have poor dust collection, invest in better dust collection. I know I only spent $400 for mine, but the headache it relieves for you is just, it's awesome. It's really awesome. So those are my 3 tools in this corner. Let's just spin you right over here to my lathe and talk about that. All right, let's talk about my least used tool in the shop. This is my Grizzly lathe. And I actually bought this from my old boss, who was a furniture maker in my area. This looks different than a regular lathe because it has a Vega duplicator attachment onto it. That's what this pirate ship wheel is. But this unit basically allows me to create a MDF template, curved, tapered, and repeat that over and over again on some stock in the lathe. This is beneficial to have when I have table legs that are turned or parts like that are turned that I need to repeat lots of at once. So I picked this up from him for, I believe, $1,200. And even though it doesn't get used, when it does get used, it's invaluable. It saves me a lot of effort if I was to be freehand turning parts to be identical. Overall, this is a cool tool, and I love having it in the shop, even though it isn't used all that much. But let's go to the bandsaw. All right, welcome to my bandsaw. This is the Grizzly 17-inch bandsaw, and I also purchased this from my old boss. I believe I spent $12.50 on this machine. Before I had a smaller 14-inch bandsaw. That was a Pioneer brand, if anybody knows what that is, but pretty standard jet. You know, they all came out of the same factory. But the Grizzly model here is really robust in my opinion. I get a full, I think 12 inches of resaw capacity here, and I have used all 12 inches. And the motor on this thing, you know, you take your time, it doesn't bog down on me. So I'm really impressed with this bandsaw, to be honest, and this is why I've kept it for so long. Eventually I could see myself getting a bigger bandsaw for sure, but as of now, this thing has done its job well, and I have 0 complaints with it. This machine's great. I use it mostly for resawing. But let's spin over to my drum sander. That's the next major tool in the shop, and we could talk a little bit about that. All right, this is my Woodmaster 26-inch drum sander. I purchased this thing about 3 years ago, used from somebody's small hobbyist shop, and they really hadn't used it all that much. I drove 3 hours to pick this up, and it was $3,000, which for me at the time was a huge investment, and I really had to scrounge up some money for it. But ever since then, this thing has been an invaluable asset to my shop. Like I said, I do a lot of tables, and so every single one of my panels ends up going through this machine and saves me tons of time hand sanding seams and stuff like that for a table. So this thing has been great. It also came with a ton of sandpaper that I've used over the past 3 years and still have tons left. I haven't had the need to buy any sandpaper for this, which is great. This machine does have an in-feed roller and an out-feed roller, but due to my space limitations in this area, I don't have them on. Like I said, I think eventually I'm planning on taking this wall down and this will get turned and I can have bigger in-feed and out-feed. Because currently for this machine, I have about 9 feet of in-feed and 10 or 11 feet of out-feed. It is on wheels, so if I have longer material that needs to go through, I just pull it out and give it a little bit of a twist, and I'm fine. Overall, a drum sander is a great machine. This one's pretty big, but you can always use bigger. Yeah, let's move over to the CNC, talk briefly about that, and then get into some of the more smaller machinery / tools I have in the shop. All right, let's talk CNC. This is my Xcarve, I think it's 1,000 by 1,000 millimeter CNC. I got this thing used as well on Facebook Marketplace for $900. And at that price, I decided I should just get it to have the ability to have a CNC in the shop. I really use this mostly for template work. So chair templates, curved templates, things of that nature. It comes really handy for, and it's always nice to just have that perfect precision coming off the CNC for templates for me. I don't do a lot of 3D carving or anything like that, but this thing has been great to have for template work and the occasional engraving or something like that I need to do. But I definitely foresee myself moving into a larger 4x4 CNC, definitely a different brand, hopefully a Phantom CNC, an Avid CNC, potentially a Onefinity, and eventually with a bigger CNC I can 3D carve chair components and stuff like that. So 4x4 CNC in the future for sure. I'd love to get one of those in the shop and do some cool things with it. Yeah, let's get into the smaller details of the shop. All right, here's my small tool wall. These are some of my most used hand tools that I have out on display. I have my Narex chisels, couple flush trim saws, Japanese pull saws, a Lee Nielsen block plane, a Lee Nielsen low angle plane, and some of my measuring and marking tools here. I have a Starrett combination square, and then just a regular eye gauging 6-inch square. And my little mallet, a couple woodpecker squares, and then this is kind of my screws and small parts organizers here, as well as my drills are mounted right up there. Yeah, I don't have the most hand tools, but I really do appreciate the high quality tools I have here. My Lee Nielsen planes are phenomenal and well worth the investment for sure. Here's a stack of some of my Festool products. As a professional furniture maker, I do really value a high quality tool. So the Festool products really line up with my workflow and ability to produce things more efficiently and at a higher quality. So I have the Domino here, I have a detail sander, and I have an ETS 125 is my standard palm sander. And I also have the Festool track saw and their rail. I just really do appreciate the quality that Festool has, and their warranties are great, and they're just a reliable, well-built machine. So I know they have a steep price for a hobbyist, but if I'm gonna recommend any Festool product for your first, it would be the Domino, and highly recommend their sanders. And let's talk about sanders for a second. As I said, I use a Festool ETS 125 sander, but I don't use Festool vacuums. I've had one in the past, and that was one tool of theirs that I didn't see the value in the price point. So I have these two fine vacs. One lives permanently hooked up to my miter station, and one lives here and gets rolled around with my sander. Overall, the Festool sander is great, but overall this setup has been great. I use this, I hook my Domino into it, I hook all my mobile tools that need dust collection into this vacuum, and yeah, I think it's great. This is my clamp wall. I could use a lot more clamps, let's be honest. The majority of these are all Bessie parallel clamps. I have a row of pipe clamps here that I use as well. I have some smaller style F clamps there that are used occasionally. I have my long 8+ feet track here that I use for my track saw. And then here are my 2 carts as well. Also, let's talk shop cooling and heating. Since this space was built specifically for my workshop, I have a midi split to keep things temperate in the summer months. And actually in the floor here, this entire concrete slab is radiant heating. My heating unit lives in this closet here, takes up most of the closet, so there's not a ton of storage in there. But during the winter months here in Maine, it gets quite cold, so the radiant does a really good job of keeping this ambient temperature up. Instead of blowing hot air from a heating unit in the wall onto freezing cold machinery, it brings up the ambient temperature for everything. And the midi split takes care of the summer months and does a really phenomenal job and is efficient as well. Yeah. All right, this is one of my assembly tables. The other one is underneath my CNC actually. And like I said, eventually when I get a 4x4 CNC, that'll live elsewhere and I'll have 2 assembly tables. This is laminated with black laminate on top and it's your standard torsion box assembly table. So it's dead flat. The black laminate is awesome. You know, everything pops off of it from glue to epoxy to paint if you do that. You know, I've chipped it up a little bit over the past year and a half I've had it, but it's great. It's on wheels so it can roll around. Underneath is basically right now open storage. I think eventually I'm gonna put either toolboxes or flat files down there just so that space can be more organized. And yeah, it's good for assembly for sure. And it gets filled up with crap every once in a while, but I like to keep a clean shop. So yeah, there's my assembly table. This cabinet over here is kind of filled with bits and bobs. I think I got this cabinet free from somebody. You know, it has random pieces of junk. I have some finishing stuff down there, which is actually empty right now. I have a couple little jigs. I have a Craig pocket hole jig for when I do cabinet work, mostly shop cabinet work. I don't tend to do a lot of client cabinet work. Respirators, paste wax, my stapler. Yeah, basically just a bunch of random things, bits and bobs, not super organized, but it tucks away out of sight. Up top, I have my jigsaw in a couple boxes that I bring with me for installs. And yeah, you know, it all gets closed. I think eventually I'll paint this blue as well. Yeah, there you go. This is my main lumber storage, full board lumber storage for the shop. And it is quite full now because I have some stuff on hand, but most of the time I don't store lumber in my shop for very long. I do each piece custom commission based. Most of the time I bring in the wood when I get an order. So I don't really often have lumber just living in my shop. So I get away with a lumber rack for the most part. It is stocked up right now. It holds a good amount of lumber. And then the secondary room here, which we'll look at now, is where I keep all my shorter lumber stock. Right now it has some big lumber in there too. Let's go check that out. All right, and this is the entrance to the shop right here. And this is kind of its own room here. And this is where I have my rack where I keep a bunch of shorts on hand, as well as where all my scrap plywood and stuff goes. This is kind of where my longer lengths of lumber go as well, and I use that for chair components or pieces to tables or aprons that don't need to be full-length boards. So this is the way this is all laid out. I have a bunch of longer boards living up here right now, as well as a whole stack of 12-quarter ash taking up this entire wall right now for a future project, which I will be filming here. We're going to be doing a Roubo style workbench. It's going to be pretty awesome, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, this is kind of where all my lumber storage is, and store some templates and plywood scraps further back in here as well. Eventually, my CNC will live on this wall, my 4x4, and all that lumber will be gone. But I have a lumber rack above here as well for overstock of wood, and currently I have a ton of veneer living in certain areas. as I got a good deal and a bunch of veneer. But there's that space. Nothing too crazy with it, mostly just lumber storage. And that's, yeah, there we go. In this corner, branching off the miter station, I have my built-in router table. This thing works well. I have a Rockler router lift in there, and it's not great. Over the years, it's gotten a lot harder to move, and you know, it's whatever. Overall, I just use this for template routing occasionally and other small routing components. Most of the time, I have my trim router out and or a large router freehanding out, so this doesn't get used all that much. I do like having the ability to just walk over the table and do it if I need. These are my drawers where my router bits live. I have my 1/2 inch collet and my 1/4 inch collet, and then a little bit of a snack drawer. For the shop, everybody needs a snack drawer, and then my trim router lives below. I don't have dust collection hooked up to this yet, so this cabinet catches all my chips. That's the reality of it right now, but it can easily be vacuumed out. Eventually, my plan is to run the ducting all the way into this corner, and it'll pipe down underneath here as well as into my miter station. It's right in front of a window, so when it is dusty, I can open the window up and get some fresh air. Of course, I'm wearing a respirator as well. And then the air lives right there, so I can blow off the space easily enough. Router table, great addition to the shop. Again, with the black laminate tops and the walnut cabinets, because why not? So that's my shop, you know. As I said, I have a lot of large machinery that might look intimidating, and it's been a journey to get here, and you know, I've invested a lot of money back into the business to get to where I am now. So right now, I've enjoyed producing content for Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. So I figured the natural progression was to move into YouTube a little bit and share some of my processes with you guys and share some of the projects. So for the future of this channel, I have some really exciting projects planned. This week, I'm gonna be starting on a table that I'll be recording and filming for you guys, as well as a really cool outdoor greenhouse project that we're hoping to start in the next month. And then of course, I'm gonna be building a traditional Roubo style workbench with my own takes on design and features in that too. So I have some really cool projects planned for the future, and I hope to be recording client pieces in the future as well to keep you guys entertained and show you what it's like to be building furniture for clients and just give you some entertaining content to watch. So there'll be a lot less of this talking to camera, I'm sure. We'll see how the natural progression of this channel goes, but as of now, I have a TikTok page where most of my content goes, so you can follow me over there. The YouTube channel, I'm really looking forward to producing some higher quality footage and filming for you guys that hopefully will be enjoyable to watch. If you're at all interested in seeing what I'm doing in the future, or enjoy the shop tour, or enjoy the couple videos I've put out already, please subscribe to support the channel, like and comment and engage with this to hopefully share it to more of the community. And yeah, I really look forward to this journey and hope that we can grow this channel and do some really cool projects together. So thanks for sticking around for the shop tour and watching this video. I really appreciate it. Very small channel at this point, and really appreciate every follow and like and comment that I get. And I really will respond to all the comments that I get. If you have any questions about the space or about me or anything woodworking related, so drop a comment below if you have any of that. But again, thanks for watching. It's been fun, and I really look forward to what I can do on this channel and share with you guys. So till the next one.